to welcome everyone tonight. I would like to call the meeting to order. Tonight is June 15th, and welcome to the Novi Board of Education regular meeting. If you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first item on our agenda is a public hearing for our budget. So I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Micah. He is going to open the public hearing. Mr. Micah.
Perfect. So each year we have an annual budget to present for the year end, and we also have a budget to present for the year that we're moving into. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Kling to provide us with the update. We had a committee of the whole for Finance Committee where he went into great detail on all of these items, but I will allow him to give his report for the committee.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so this is our annual budget hearing. So that's, schools are required to do that due to the Uniform Budgeting Act. You have an annual budget hearing and you have an annual truth and taxation. We did truth and taxation in May, mostly for our local municipalities to help out that timing. So now, as Mr. Micah said, we're going to review this year's final budget and next year's preliminary budget. We talked about both of these budgets in detail on our Finance Committee meeting of the whole on June 6th. So this is going to be a very high-level overview of this. Okay. Wait.
Got that power button?
I can be taught. Okay. I'm going to touch on what those are in a little bit more detail later. But you can see, although you're seeing a large increase overall, our fund balance is staying consistent. We're not diving into that any more than what the amended called for. The only difference is you'll notice that the percentage, now your fund balance percentage is based on your expenditures. So naturally, if your expenditures go up and your revenues go up, your fund balance percentage will actually go down. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Although we're not seeing a change in fund balance, our fund balance percentage is actually going down because we have more expenditures. But let's talk about the revenue. So revenue went from 91 million to 95, almost 96 million. This is the revenue broken down by function. The state requires us to break down both revenue and expenditures by function. That's how we report our financial information to the bid. The majority of the revenue changes are going to be from something called a UAL, so that's our 147C2. Basically, it's our liability to the state's pension program. So it's an in and out. We see a revenue increase and we see an expenditure increase. The state is doing this one-time payment because they have a healthy balance sheet. And when they have a healthy balance sheet, they want to take on this debt. So we're going to see $4.5 million in just that one category increase in revenue. And then we're also going to see a $4.5 million increase in expenditures. So there's a lot of other things going on. We have property tax adjustments, we have other local adjustments, we have some federal grants, but the majority of the increase is going to be that 147C increase. Now if we go on and to the expenditure by function, again, this is broken down by function category. The state requires us to do that. You're going to see that 4.5 again increase in the expenditures spread out throughout these functions. So the majority of it is in basic programs because that's where the majority of our expenditures are. But again, you're seeing an in and out. It's a payment that we get the revenue and we have a payment back to the ORS. So you can see our expenditures from the A1 to the final budget increased from 91.4 million to 96. So that's kind of going over the final budget amendment. That's kind of going over the final 2022-2023 budget. Now we're going to see what does it look like for the forecast for next year. 23-24, same format. This is kind of the high level revenues and expenditures. So this year the state hasn't told us that we have a large one-time UAL payment. They could, but they haven't yet. So we're going to see that come off. But what we're seeing come back on is a pretty hefty per pupil increase by the state. That's why you're seeing revenues actually maintain at $95 million. It's because this year, 22-23, we saw the one-time payment, but we're also expected to see a $450 per pupil increase. We're also going to see property tax revenue increase because we're going to go out in August and increase our property millage back up to 18 mills, which is what is standard and what it should be. So that's going to be another $750,000 increase, expected increase in our revenue side. On the expenditure side, we have a lot of new contracts, and we're going to see increases on those contracts. So that's again why you're not seeing the expenditure side come down by the 4.5 million either, because we have revenue increases, we have retirement increases, every year the retirement rate goes up, healthcare increases, and then also utility increases. So it's going to be our gas and electric that's also going to be increasing. So this is the breakdown again by function for the 23-24 school year. This is the expenditure by function. Again, you're going to see a lot of those changes. You're going to see the 147C2 coming off, but then you're also going to see increases in contracts across the board also. So at the end of 23-24, we're going to have an expected fund balance of 15.6 million or 16.5%. I know that's a lot. Like I said, we kind of We did a lot more detail at the finance committee on the whole, and this is high level, so if you have any questions, yes.
I know the answer to this one, but would love if you could share with the community with the millage that you referenced. What properties is that going to impact?
So that's gonna be non-homestead, yes.
So not people's houses?
Yes,
Just to,
correct.
thank you.
Yep.
It's like, they might want to know that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you. So thank you, to begin, thank you, Mr. Kling, and the business office, and all the work you guys have done. I know this is a really, really busy time for you, and we had the opportunity, as finance committee of the whole, to attend as board members and community members and ask questions. This part is a public hearing, so I certainly will ask the board if they have any burning questions. We're also going to revisit this later in our agenda under action items G and H when we bring these resolutions forward for a vote. So if there's anything you'd like to ask Devin, please feel free, or if you'd like to hold on to it till later, and then we'll open up for public comment of this specific area. Anybody before table have any specific questions? Okay. Because this is a public hearing, we have an opportunity for comments from the audience specific to the budget. We will have another opportunity for comments from the audience on anything else that is in our purview. So if anybody has any specific questions to this budget, please come up to the podium and share your question, and we will, or at least your comment, and then we'll move forward with that. Okay, seeing none, the public hearing has been opened and the public hearing has been closed. We will move on to approval of the rest of our agenda. If I can get a motion to approve the agenda,
So moved. Support.
recommended by Mr. Smith and supported by Mr. Cook.
Unknown caller.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We're going to move on to our first item here is our student board member report. Our student board member hopefully is on her summer vacation. She was unable to join us this evening, so we look forward to catching up with her moving forward in August. And we'll move on to celebrations. So I will start with Mr. Michael if he has any celebrations, and then any board members have anything they'd like to share.
So many things to celebrate near the end of the year. It was such a fantastic year, which I'll talk about a little bit more in my report, but I had the opportunity today to visit with a lot of our community who made it out to East Lansing for our boys who ended up winning their semifinal baseball game today. So they're gonna play for the state championship on Saturday at 9 o'clock. That's the furthest Novi's ever gone in the baseball tournament, so very, very cool.
Great, thank you, that was super exciting. Any other celebrations? Ms. Bodwin?
I just wanted to thank all of our educators and administrators and parents and students for making it through the last few weeks of school. I don't know about everyone else's home, but ours, it was kind of a struggle at the end there, so I was very happy when that last day came and we are all happily relaxing in the Bodwine house. And also wanted to congratulate all of our graduates. As a new member of this board, I had the opportunity to attend 3 separate graduation ceremonies and found them all to be moving in unique and amazing ways, and am so proud of the work we're doing and proud of all of our graduates. And I also wanted to wish everyone in our community that celebrates a happy Pride Month, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Do you have any other celebrations, Mr. Mishner?
Yes, I was also privileged enough to join in those celebrations as well as a couple of elementary schools. So Deerfield, where my son attends, I got to watch him graduate as a 4th grader. You know, it's a big difference between graduating 12th grade and 4th grade, but it was a good milestone, and I'd like to thank all the staff and Principal Francis for all they put together the last day. They had blankets and the parents came out and the kids had a lot of cool presentations for us, and it was really cool. And then the Deerfield PTO did an amazing job putting together a little celebration right there in Wildlife Park right next to Deerfield. And it was a really nice, fun family event. So that was also very cool. And I also got the privilege to attend VO's graduation, where they had like a very formal graduation ceremony with caps and the whole 9 yards. Principal Manka was there to give it. It was just really cool and another proud moment. So I really, in general, from what I can see, I really appreciate how this district supports and makes a milestone even for our 4th graders. And and makes them feel special and give them that little extra support as they move to a new building and a new standard for what we're expecting of them. I think that's nice that we kind of mark a milestone and congratulate them for what they've achieved so far, so.
Thank you. Do we have any other celebrations? Certainly we'll have opportunity for board reports later. Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to our first and only report to the board. Tonight we're going to do a spring 2023 construction and capital projects update, and I will turn it over to Mr. Menka.
Great, thank you. We have Kevin Donnelly here from Plant Marion Cressa and Bill and Justin from McCarthy, and they're gonna provide us with an update. They come in the spring and they come in the fall and do a report for us on just progress made. So we're looking forward to hearing a similar report that we heard at the capital projects.
Appreciate it, thank you. Kevin Donnelly with Plant Marion Cressa, happy to be here tonight. I know it's a pretty robust presentation, but I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can and be as informative as I can. A lot of this is going to be for the community as it goes on the website at the conclusion of our presentation. So a lot of it's pretty pictures, things that are ongoing within the district right now related to the bond, and I'll scroll through that relatively quickly. Tonight we want to cover just a brief progress update, some of the bond projects that are currently active right now and some that are being planned for the next year, a financial update, talk a little bit about the master planning that we're going through right now related to the 19 program, the balance of, and thinking through the next bond program, 2025 program, and a brief update related to the land swap. These first couple slides are very familiar. We put them in all of our presentations. It's just where have we been since 2019, some of the key pillars related to the bond program, educational facilities, new learning opportunities, new technology throughout, infrastructure and equipment, and safety and security. This is a direct cut and paste literally from the bond proposal, the bond application that was put in 2019. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but the area we have highlighted here, I just want to note that we have currently met all of our bond obligations from the 19 program, excluding the construction of the new activity center, which we're going to talk about a little bit further in the agenda. Some of the progress that some of the activities and progress that we've been making behind the scenes related to design and programming. If the board recalls, we came through back in late April to gain approval on the 6th grade house program that we'd like to, that we wanted to kick off, the high school baseball and softball complex, the tennis facility. All of those are currently in progress as far as programming and design, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And we're actively master planning the balance of the 2019 program. Since we last met back in December, we've been awarded several projects. We've been awarded the elementary playgrounds, which are going to be happening yet this summer at several locations. McCarthy and Smith had been awarded the HS4, which is all the access control systems throughout the district, which are actively being installed right now. We're bidding and awarding in this coming month the outdoor learning project at the middle school, which is a direct collaboration with the NEF, predominantly funded through the NEF, but our project teams are helping them think through that. And then we have ongoing bidding and award of the technology scope throughout the district, either to support new projects or as the requirements of the bond are set forth. Key planning, as I had mentioned, we're right now in kicking off the phase 2 of the master planning that we presented to the board in the past. We'll talk a little bit about it later in the agenda, but we're finalizing the land swap. We have district-wide master planning ongoing related to the bond, and then we're going to be kicking off an in-depth effort thinking through potential 2025 bond program. Construction activities are ongoing. You can probably see as you drive by Meadows that we're actively involved wrapping that project up, but the construction teams continue to plan, coordinate with their teams. Move management planning is ongoing right now with moving out of buildings, moving back in buildings as spaces are completed, and we're working with all the governing authorities to gain the proper approvals as we move forward in the projects. So that's a brief update related to the progress since we've last met. Some of the key milestones and dates that we are looking at right now. If you haven't driven by Meadows, it's taken shape quite dramatically over the last year. We're looking to have that project, call it phase 1, complete here in August of 23, just so everyone's clear. The 5th graders are moving in this fall. That will then allow us to drop back and remodel the existing 5th grade areas, and the 6th graders are going to be moving in the fall of 2024. But for all intents and purposes, we're going to be substantially complete late this summer, early fall of this year with that facility. The high school phase 2, which is basically the athletics gateway at the back of the high school, is actively in progress. We'll talk a little bit about a phase turnover here later in the agenda, but that project will be completed this fall. We recently completed the Roar phase 2 office remodel, which was done this past winter. And the storage building, which you may or may not see out in front of Mr. Dragoo's facility, is going to wrap up this month as well. Ongoing projects or forthcoming projects, we're going to be doing playground equipment at 4 elementaries. We have ongoing district-wide access control work going on. The outdoor learning is going to start this July and be done in the fall. And then as we continue to move forward, we're going to have ongoing technology improvements. Some of the upcoming projects that I mentioned earlier that we're thinking through right now in design and programming, the 6th grade house, which will be completely designed this fall and late this fall, and we're going to take it out for bid in December and January. The baseball, softball facility complex, we're going to be designing that on a parallel schedule. It'll be out for bid this fall with a completion of March of 25. The tennis facility is literally a year thereafter, but we're going to design that in parallel with the softball, baseball, and bid them all at once. That'll be complete in April of 26. And then we're going to start programming, thinking through the new activity center starting here in 24, but that project is slated to start May of 25 as far as programming and design and be complete towards the end of the bond program. Some of the future projects that will be part of phase 2 master planning that will conclude the 2019 bond program include this building here that we need to think through as far as it becoming potentially a wellness center, additional phase over at the high school. There is another playground outside of the ones we're doing this summer that needs to be completed, and that's related to Meadows. Ongoing technology projects related to the bond, and then fixtures, furniture, and equipment to support the new projects. Some progress photos. The top left and top right are pretty dramatic changes within a 1-year period. We were literally just pushing dirt back in May of 22, and we have a fully erected building that is almost complete on the outside here in May of 23. Construction team has done a fantastic job on this project. Everything is currently on schedule, and as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a 2-phase turnover starting this fall. Interior photos of the facility were in finishes. These are actually outdated. They were taken about a week ago. There's just so much activity ongoing right now that there's the casework, floor finishes, painting. We're in the final stages at Meadows. I'm going to scroll through these renderings pretty quickly. Again, this is more for the website and the community, but these are final rendered photos of what's yet to come and what's to look forward to yet this fall. It's going to be a pretty amazing space. The Athletics Gateway, as I mentioned earlier, that project is in progress. Some progress photos here. We are actively installing retaining walls, foundations, coming up the North Hill, getting ready to actively start developing those areas that you see dirt at right now in the photos. Some pictures to the lower left there are those ramps I just mentioned, very extensive foundation and structural work related to those walls. But we're coming up the hill right now to free up work related to the concessions building, ticketing, the cat rack that's going to be part of the main entry, and all the new plaza that leads up to the field. We do have an area that we had to jump on pretty quickly, and that's the new receiving area, which we're going to be turning over yet this month. That area is complete, and we'll talk about some phasing here as we move forward. Occupancy of the new receiving area is in red, like I just mentioned. There's going to be a phased turnover, and we're kind of tying this to the football games that are going to be coming up this fall. This is kind of an overall phasing plan. I'll get into further detail here in a second. For game 1, which is on 8/25, the expectation should be that we have full access to the field. The areas in yellow, which is going to be hardscape, all of the, call it the patios, the sidewalks, that'll be substantially complete. We're going to have active construction areas there to the west, which is going to be the drive loop, the main entry, and then some of the addition work that's going to be ongoing to the building. Interior expectations, we're doing renovations right now in the interior to all the athletic offices. Those will be substantially complete towards the end of August as well. And just some other renderings here as far as egress, traffic patterns, temporary entrances. So Taste Fest and game day on 9/15, we'll have a much larger area open and complete and ready for usage, and that's all the areas in green, which is basically the main plaza. The buildings at that time will be fully complete, minus some of the interior finishes, so we don't expect to have access to that yet, but the whole intent of Taste Fest is that we're gonna have food trucks, and it's gonna be kind of a festival type environment. Again, all the access shown right now will be in green for that game day. Come homecoming, which I believe is on 9/29, we will have everything in green complete, including all of the buildings, full use of all the buildings, concessions, ticketing, the cat rack. So for all intents and purposes, besides the area, call it in orange, which is more of the addition work going on to the building, we will have everything fully open and functional for the 9/29 game. Final turnover of all the areas is going to be in the fall. That was pretty much the planned expectation with some of the addition work that we were doing and some of the changes that we had made to the storage buildings adjacent to the building for the tech areas. But we'll have everything completed 100% come 11/30. Some final finished renderings of what that site's going to look like here, not too far down the road. It's going to be a dramatic improvement to, obviously, to the entry of the football field. The maintenance storage building, pretty basic building, but a much needed building. That'll be just some progress photos here. That'll be complete towards the end of this month and turned over to Mr. Dragoo and his team. As mentioned earlier, we finished the Roar renovation, phase 2, the office renovation this past winter. Just some completed photos there. That space turned out quite well. I think everyone's very pleased with that new space. Renderings of some of the new playground equipment that's going to be going in at the playgrounds this summer. Deerfield, Novi Woods, Orchard Hills, and Parkview. These aren't complete remodels of the playgrounds, but selective equipment replacement to improve them. Rendering of the outdoor learning that we're going to be tackling later this summer and into early fall at the middle school. And then I'm going to be working closely with facilities to do some miscellaneous, call it infrastructure improvements throughout the district this summer and into the fall as well. So that concludes a brief project update. Talking about financials, a couple slides here. As I've mentioned in the past, probably for the last 3 years, the construction industry has seen a dramatic increase in pricing and escalation. It can range anywhere from 40 to 60%, depending on a lot of different factors. Obviously, we're trying to mitigate some of this, and a lot of that's proactive thinking with the time of year we're bidding work, how we're procuring materials. But I think just the reality is we're dealing with substantial price increases over the last 3 years. Just some boring graphs that you can look at your leisure to support that. Where are we at today with the bond program? We are reconciled with the district through June 30th. And of the $192 million, which includes the bond program, some other miscellaneous funds, we are committed through $127 million, which leaves us a balance of just shy of $68 million. All the projects that we're looking at in the box below are the projects that we're looking at moving forward to complete the bond program. These are just conceptual, high-level budget numbers right now. Obviously, as we're working through the programming, the design, the budgeting, these numbers will continue to be refined as we move forward. This is an update on master planning, probably more relevant to the community as it hits the website, but it's very similar to what Superintendent Micah had presented probably about a month ago. We're going to be tackling the master planning in 3 phases. We're completed through phase 1, which is the balance of which includes the remaining balance of the 19 program. Phase 2 is going to be the projects that we haven't talked about, which include all projects outside of the activity center, tennis and baseball, And those are going to start to be thought through in further detail here yet this month through the balance of the summer. And then phase 3 is future planning, visioning, and needs assessment, more predominantly related to the 25 bond program and planning related to it. Just what was approved on phase 1, what were part of the recommendations, which we've talked about. As I mentioned, phase 2 of the master planning, we're starting to kick that off now. We anticipate that'll be probably about a 6-month process that we'll work through, which will include the activity center, high school potential pool deck expansion, which is part of the bond program, maybe another phase over at the Roar, depending on what usage we decide to utilize that west half for, Meadows Playground, and then remaining technology scope. Just at a high level, just some key timelines and dates that we'd be looking at for the 25 bond program. We'll be looking to start some internal planning behind the scenes with facility assessments, ongoing starting this summer, and that'll probably lead into early next year, which will then roll into stakeholder meetings with various user groups, the community, which will be ongoing February of next year, probably through late spring. And then we'd be looking to probably target a conceptual final bond scope in June of '24, with preparing of the final bond documents stemming a couple months thereafter through August. Basically, we need to be in a position the end of '24 to really tee up a potential bond application and vote for the spring of the following year. Brief update related to the land swap. I know the board's been hearing a lot of updates either internally or through us as we get in front of the board. I can say that we're on our last legs of the last details to get this closed out. The attorneys between the city and the district are working closely together on the last title details. There's been a few environmental things that have come up that we've been working through on the title commitments, but we anticipate hopefully closing later this month, and that's the current status of where it's at. So I got through 49 slides pretty quickly like I was asked to. Obviously, I want to keep a few minutes for questions. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Kevin. Before we do that, I want to just thank you, obviously, your team and all the teams, capital projects team, have been, McCarthy Smith and TNP have been working really diligently. I mean, that was quick and high level, and I know the details take much more time and the efforts that you guys are putting in. We can see them as we drive down Taft Road and as we drive into the high school parking lot and all over town. So I think it's great, and then, our young kids are gonna have some new playgrounds. Village Oaks had a really spectacular playground construction that they welcomed at the beginning of last year, and so I think that all this work is great visionarily, and I think it's wonderful to have on our website for people to really dive deep into. So, does anybody at the board table have any specific questions for Kevin? Got some head nodding, no? No? Okay, pretty quiet bunch tonight.
Great,
So,
appreciate the time, thank you.
And please share with the team our gratitude.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, we will move on to comments from the audience. The board respectfully requests that any individual wishing to speak to the board provide their name, address, and any organization they represent on the cards that are in the back. You can give that to Mrs. Holly. She will hand it up here to the board. We'll call you up to the podium. If you could keep your comments to the 3-minute time allotment that's on our timer, and if you can refrain from directing comments to individual board members, district employees, or members of the audience, we would appreciate it. So, do we have any board cards? No? Okay. John, it looks like your job's quiet.
I was ready too.
Okay, but thank you guys all for being here in the audience. So we will move on to our consent agenda, and this evening on our consent agenda, okay, this evening we have approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of May 18th, 2023, the closed session minutes of May 18th, 2023. Do Governance and Policy Committee of the Whole, June 5th, 2023. Capital Projects Committee of the Whole, June 5th, 2023. Finance Committee of the Whole, June 6th, 2023. We have approval of memberships, the MASB annual membership and the MHSAA annual membership. We have, third item is approval of Novi CPAC representatives to Oakland schools. If I can get a motion for recommendation. Ms. Bodwine?
That the Novi Community Schools Board of Education approve the consent items as presented.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Bodwine and supported by Mrs. Roney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on next to donations. This evening we have one donation, and I will turn that over to Mr. Micah.
Thank you. The district is in receipt of a generous donation from the Novi Orchestra Boosters. The donation is in the amount of $2,600, and they would like to dedicate these funds for the replacement strings on 13 district-owned cellos at Novi High School. So we're excited to be able to accept that for the donation with appreciation and thanks.
Thank you. Can I get a motion? Mr. Cook?
I move that the Novi Community School Board of Education accepts the donation presented with appreciation and thanks.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Mena. Any questions or comments?
This comes with strings attached.
Ha
Sounds
Great
like
dad
it.
joke.
Bum.
Any other real comments?
No real comments for me, I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you for the joke though, Mr. Cook, that was delightful.
And thank you to our boosters for supporting, keeping our instruments fresh for all of our students. We really do appreciate it. Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next on our agenda, we are going into closed session for the purpose of negotiations. I will have someone make a motion, but before we do that, I just want to share logistics that we will not be gone long. It's just for the board to receive an update regarding some of the negotiations with our groups. And then we will be coming straight back in here to go through all of our action items and our one information discussion. So we'll try to make it brief because we know that your time is valuable. So if I can get a motion, Mr. Cook?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education moves into closed session for the purpose of contract negotiations.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Roney. We will take a roll call vote. Mr. Mena?
Trustee Bodwine.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. We will be back as quickly as possible.
Right in here?
Oh, you're already now.
Okay,
Oh, looks like me.
we are back from closed session. And we will move on to our action items. We have quite a few here to get through this evening, so we will start with our NTA contract approval. Mr. Micah.
Super excited tonight to present to you an effort that Dr. Carino worked very hard on, Mr. Kling, myself, and also the bargaining team from our Transportation Association. I will say they're represented by the Michigan Education Association. And we were reported that they passed their tentative agreement that we negotiated with them by their membership at 100%, and that's not happened before. And so, pretty groundbreaking, and so we're just really thankful for the opportunity to hopefully be able to have your support on this tonight, which will open up many opportunities for us to bring in more drivers and pay them at a competitive rate that will allow them to, hopefully be very competitive in the marketplace. So it's there for your consideration this evening.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation. Mrs. Roney?
That the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the agreement reached with the NTA as presented.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mr. Mishner. Do we have any questions or comments this evening? Sure. Ms. Bodwine?
Just wanted to say thank you. Great job. Good job, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you to our bus drivers, thank you to the negotiating team. They're a very valuable player in our school district, and so we look forward to recruiting more to come to our district and hopefully be able to offer some services that we have not been able to offer over the last couple of years, so. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to our NESPA contract approval. Mr. Meinka?
Also like to just reiterate the hard work from the negotiating team from the NESPA group. It was a very collaborative process. Really thankful for just the team, and again, they're represented by MEA. Very high percentage pass rate at 92% of their membership passing the tentative agreement. Really just want to say that I know that it's been a long time coming for our paraprofessionals, our secretaries, those that do a lot of work in our buildings to make the schools run every day, and we certainly do appreciate all the work that they do. We see what they do, and we respect what they do. So thank you for your consideration and supporting them this evening through this agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Meinka. If I can get a motion for the recommendation? Mr. Mishner?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the agreement reached with NESPA as presented.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mishner and supported by Mrs. Bodwine. Do we have any comments or questions regarding this? Okay, seeing none, thank you to the negotiating groups and to our NESPA personnel. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to Personnel Report A. Mr. Meinka.
Thank you. This is one of our best nights because we have some people who have been waiting for this point, and we get to welcome some new people into the family. So Dr. Carino's worked very hard with the new employment processes, and I cannot wait to for you to meet some of the people that we were able to bring into the team this evening. I'll turn it over to Dr. Carino for the personnel report.
Thank you. I am very excited because we have a very full house of lots of new hires. We went through our new process, and we are just very, very excited at our candidate pool. It was incredibly strong, and we have lots of eager new staff who are just thrilled to join our district, and we are equally excited to have them be here. So for your consideration tonight, Crystal Davis, Deerfield K-4 music teacher, Sarah Farnsworth, Novi Woods first grade teacher, Allison Fidel, Novi Woods third grade teacher, Caitlin Jakubik, Orchard Hills third grade teacher, Carly Martinez, Village Oaks fourth grade teacher, Scott Skidema, Orchard Hills fourth grade teacher, Allison Schulte, Village Oaks third grade teacher, Rebecca Truex, Orchard Hills first grade teacher, and Amanda Walker, Village Oaks third grade teacher. We also have an IUOE, Jason Glinsky, the maintenance HVAC tech, Jeffrey Pashadlo, a maintenance tech, and we have a few resignations that will take place over the summer. Lori Clifford, fifth grade art teacher at Novi Meadows, Daniel Ratchewy, high school special education teacher, Teresa Grizian, Novi Meadows general ed para, and Amanda Holofield at the Early Childhood Center community ed assistant. And finally, we have Gary Jagatka, who is a bus driver who was retiring as of last Friday. So these are our personnel report A.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation, please. Mr. Cook?
Move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Roney. Do we have any comments or questions? Mr. Mena?
Yeah, I do. It is nice. We talk about trying to bring our own back, and it's nice to recognize some names, at least one name, possibly more, of former students of this district. So welcome back. I'm glad that you chose Novi to come back and apply for.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions? Yes, please, Mrs. Bodwine.
I just wanted to express my excitement that we have some new third grade and a fourth grade teacher at VO. That is where my kids go, and well, my youngest now, the other two are out. But I'm very excited. I know we have a few spots there left to fill, and I'm very excited to see who's going to be joining that team. We're looking forward to it.
Any other comments or questions? No, I look forward to Dr. Carino welcoming our new staff. Before we do that, I would like to acknowledge bus driver Gary and welcome him into his new journey in his retirement. I was telling someone that I saw on Twitter last week, it was the coolest thing ever. I hope it went viral. If it hasn't, then you all go home and watch it so it can maybe go viral. But a police officer stopped him on his route, and he kind of stopped the bus, and families and students and just, it was like 100 people that just went running towards the grass with signs, and it was just a big, huge celebration for him. He got out of his bus, and kids were just, cheering for him and going crazy. And my kids, I don't know that they had bus driver Gary, but they saw it on Twitter and were like, oh my gosh, bus driver Gary's retiring. I can't believe it. Look at this awesome video. So he is well known in Novi, and we appreciate his service that he has provided to our students here in Novi. Oh, okay. That being said, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Carino to introduce some of our new staff.
All right, in no particular order, I would like Sarah Farnsworth to come on up. Welcome officially.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm first up, I guess. Hi, I'm Sarah Farnsworth. I'll be teaching first grade at Novi Woods. I was born and raised in Marysville, Michigan, but the last 2 years I actually taught third grade down in Indiana. So I'm happy to be home in Michigan, happy to be here in Novi, and just so excited to join this awesome team. Thank you, great to meet you.
Welcome.
Allison Fidel.
Hi everyone, I'm Allison Fidel, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I was born and raised in Canton, Michigan, so not too far from here. I attended Michigan State University, and for the past 4 years, I have taught in Troy, and I've my last day of school tomorrow, so still one more day. But I am so excited to be here. A couple years ago, my husband and I got married and moved to Novi. My husband's over here. His name is Jake. We moved to Novi for a variety of reasons, one of them being for the school, so our future kids can go to the school. So I'm so thankful, and I don't know if I said I'll be third grade at Novi Woods. So thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Carly Martinez.
Hi, I am Carly Martinez, and I am going to be a fourth grade teacher at Village Oaks Elementary. I've recently, the past 4 years, taught fourth and fifth grade over in Madison Heights. I'm really excited about this move because I've heard just really great things from the families that attend Novi Public Schools. So I just want to thank you, and I'm very excited for my journey here at Novi.
Scott Skyma.
Hi, I'm Scott Skidema, and I will be teaching 4th grade at Orchard Hills, and I'm super excited to be here, so thanks for having us. My wife is also a high school teacher at Novi, so happy to be joining her in the Novi district and joining my kids as well. So super excited about this opportunity, so thank you for giving it to me.
Allison Schulte.
Hello, my name is Allison Schulte. I grew up in Novi, went to Novi schools. I was fortunate enough to work in Novi with Playworks, a nonprofit, so I know some of the people in the district, and I'm excited to work in 3rd grade at Village Oaks this year.
Rebecca Truitt.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Truax. I will be working at Orchard Hills in 1st grade. I just graduated from Grand Valley in December, and I taught 4th in kindergarten, so I'm excited to get a new grade. I grew up in Heartland, and I'm super excited to be back at this side of the state. Thank you.
Amanda Walker.
Hi, my name is Amanda Walker. I went to school in Walled Lake, so not too far from Novi, and then I went to Michigan State and graduated last May. And then I've been student teaching in kindergarten in Waterford for this past year, and I will be teaching 3rd grade at Village Oaks. And I truly think there is no better spot that I could have landed for my first full year of teaching, and I cannot wait to get started in August.
And I think I missed Caitlin, isn't it?
Hi, my name is Katie Jakubik. I'll be teaching 3rd grade at Orchard Hills. I grew up in South Lyon, so not far. I just recently graduated in December from Grand Valley, and then I did my student teaching in West Bloomfield. So I'm really excited to get involved in Novi and start my career here.
Welcome.
We also have one administrator who we board approved several weeks ago, but she had lived in a different state, and so we are very excited to welcome Michelle DeBrincat. So come on up.
Good evening. My name is Michelle DeBrincat. My position was up in April, but we just moved back from Chicago 3 weeks ago, so recent to moving here. Grew up here though, went to Livonia Public Schools, so I'm very excited for the opportunity to be able to give back to the same community that I was able to go through. So thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being here this evening. Enjoy your summer, and we look forward to seeing you early in August. We will move on to Personnel Report B. I will turn it over to Mr. Micah.
Thank you so much, and yes, feel free to exit on out. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'll just say that this personnel report is about renewing our administrators' contracts. Our administrators are on 2-year rolling contracts, and so what this effectively does is extends their contract by 1 year so that they remain in a 2-year contract. We can't say enough about how much we appreciate our administrative team. They're the ones that go last, and so we're thankful for the work that they do selflessly. And their contracts are there for renewal and your approval this evening.
Thank you. We have multiple contracts that we would like to bring forward to you. So Devin Kling, myself, Mike Germini, Andrew Cohn, Ann Hansen, Jeff Dinkelman, Adler Ringel, Emily Polanski, Mike Dragoo, Darby Hoppenstead, Shaylee Patel, Cindy Valentine, Eric Heddle, Stacy Jobe, George Sipple, Kathy Ferris, Amanda Squires, Joy Danforth, Katie Dinkelman, Ryan Francis, Alice Kazee, Jennifer Murphy, John Bricky, Lisa Fenchel, Robert Baker, Angie Southworth, Nicole Carter, Michelle DeBrincat, and Ron Kane.
One more.
One more. Keep going.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Don
poor Don.
Wachowski. I didn't forget you, Don, sorry.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation? Mr. Mena?
And I move that the board approve the contracts as noted.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Cook. Do we have any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, yes, please, Mrs. Roney.
At this time last year, we were without a cabinet. So I am very thankful for all of this. I mean, we've had a great year, and wow, that's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roney. Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you to the administrators for all the work that they do. I hope they also get a little bit of R&R and some self-care time and are ready to come back and get some great work done in the fall. So I think we are ready for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to the iPad refresh. Mr. Minka?
Thank you. So our technology department is requesting an iPad refresh of 1,200 one-to-one iPads. Basically, our students in K2, they receive an iPad instead of a Chromebook because it's a little bit more age appropriate, allows them to engage with technology in a little bit more meaningful way for their age group. These original iPads that we passed out to the students were back in 2017, and those life expectancies were about 4 years. We stretched them out, got an extra year out of them, but they are due, and so we're hoping that you'll support this for $596,739 from Capital Projects Bond Fund to support this initiative, which we will purchase and have ready for the kids by fall.
Thank you. I can get a motion for the recommendation. Mrs. Roney?
That the Novi Community School District Board of Ed award the bids to the contractors listed for a total amount of $596,739 to be expended from the Capital Projects Bond 2019 Fund.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mrs. Bodwine. Do we have any specific questions or comments regarding this?
I do one.
Yes,
that
please, Mr.
I actually
Mena.
just thought about right now.
Yep.
We're a district that uses both iPads and Chromebooks. Do we use both for students? And if we do, where's the split?
Yeah, so we use Chromebooks for students third grade through third and up. So from third grade through 12th grade, students are given Chromebooks. And then K2, we use iPads. And so, for example, sometimes the accessibility of a Chromebook is not quite the same as an iPad. So they all get these really fun little like marshmallowy covers and all sorts of things that allows them to drop them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so third grade is where they split off.
Okay.
Ben, is it third grade or second grade?
Will they get
It was, because I only know from personal experience in second grade, my son had.
Mr. Jeremini, is it second? Sorry.
Second grade.
Thank you for correcting me. Yep, second.
Mrs. Bodwine?
I just wanted to add to this that with the Chromebooks, they have to log in, and so I have a second grader with the Chromebook, and, well, I guess now going in third, but it takes quite some effort to type out their whole login and the password and all that. So I think the iPads are really great for the littler kids, having seen that transition happen, it's good, but it's tricky at first.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to the high school CAD refresh. Mr. Minka?
Yeah, so similar technology requests. I know we talked about this at the last board meeting. The technology department is going to be replacing the CAD desktops in our high school CAD room. They were originally purchased in 2016. We're asking for a refresh of that lab so that our students can have the most up-to-date technology as they perform their CAD design projects. The cost from the REMC bid is $71,600, and that will be expensed from the Capital Projects Bond 2019 fund.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation, Ms.
Real quick, before we make the motion, is the amount 71,900 or 71,600?
71,900, I apologize. It's in the recommendation. I think that was
Yeah,
just
it was
missed.
just a little, thank you for pointing that out,
Thank you.
Jason. Mr. Mena?
Yeah, I move that the board approve the purchase of 34 HP ZR towers, Tower G9 700 workstations as outlined above, for the total amount of $71,900 to be expended from the capital projects bond 2019 fund.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Cook. Any questions or comments in regards to this? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to our two budget items. We have the 2022-2023 final budget. We'll start there, but then we'll also roll right into the 2023-24 preliminary budget. Mr. Meinka.
Yeah, the 2022-23 final budget is there for your approval tonight. Mr. Kling spoke to that. And again, we'll get a final audited number when we do our audit this summer, but this will be our final amendment for the 2022-23 school year.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation. Mrs. Roney?
That the Novi Community School District Board of Ed adopt the 2022-2023 final budget resolution as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mr. Mishner. Do we have any other questions regarding this? I know we had a committee of the whole and we had a public hearing, but any specific questions for Mr. Kling? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. We'll roll right into the 2023-24 preliminary budget resolution.
Yep, so the 2023-24 preliminary budget is basically like throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold on. And so we are doing our best guess at what the state is going to allocate. We do believe it's gonna be very positive, so our projections of about a little more than $450 per student. We're budgeting for a flat enrollment rate, which has been a little bit better than flat, but it's always better to be conservative. And so appreciate Mr. Kling's work on this budget, and we'll obviously be doing amendment again in the winter next year after we get our finalized numbers from the state. But the preliminary budget for next year, which has to be approved by June 30th, which we will do if you pass this tonight, is there for your approval.
Thank you. Can we get a motion for the recommendation? Mrs. Roney?
That the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the 2023-2024 preliminary budget resolution as presented.
We have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mr. Cook. Do we have any questions? I just have a quick question, Mr. Kling, I know it's like, again, you're just making a guesstimate, but you sit on like these conference calls and things. Do you have any idea when the state may come forward? Because they have till October, correct? But sometimes they come a little sooner with their final budget.
I believe soon.
Okay.
That was the last communication we had as of today through MSBO.
Okay, so they're moving a little quicker than norm?
Yeah, it's a relative term.
Okay, soon. All right. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Sooner than October, we hope.
Yeah, early July, or late June, early July would be great.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And again, I want to spend just a second to thank Mr. Kling and the business office and cabinet team and everybody who puts their minds forward to make these guesstimates. So we appreciate it. We'll move on to the Novi Community School District Capital Projects Contingency Approval. Mr. Meinka?
Yeah, so we have had some communications about this over the past month or so. Essentially at our high school gateway project as well as the Meadows 5th, 6th edition, we have come to a point where we believe we're going to be exceeding our contingencies that have been allocated for those projects. As you know, we have a total contingency for the total bond program, and then we have individual contingencies per project. We believe that we can absorb this in our total contingency fund. This is probably a little heavy, but it allows us to make sure we can get through the projects. We've had some design omissions and a couple of bulletins that have caused us to drive that cost up a little bit at the Athletic Gateway project and Meadows as well. So this is an approval for moving contingency funds from our overall contingency into the project contingencies. $1,500,000 at the Athletic Gateway project at the high school, and then $1 million at the 5th, 6th grade Meadows Addition project from the general contingency into the project contingency for a total of $2.5 million.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. If I can get a motion for this recommendation? Mrs. Bodwine?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the contingency funds as presented.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Recommended by Mrs. Bodwine, supported by Mr. Smith. Do we have any questions regarding this? Mr. Cook?
I will not be supporting this.
Okay.
This first came through and it was 40% over budget. And we were told that they would be looking at ideas to cut back on costs and come down under. Now, through errors, omissions, and other things, we're looking at even adding more money to it. I didn't support it in the beginning because it was so far over budget, and I will not support this now.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. Thank you. We'll move on to our next action item, our final action item for this evening. It is our Troon policy implementation approval. It's for the 3000s, 4000s, and 5000 series. Mr. Micah.
Yeah, so just to provide a little clarity, the policy committee has been going through the Troon policy manual for about the past 6 months. There's been a number of conversations, both in open, committee of the whole meetings as well as administrative committee meetings. To bring a little bit of clarity around this, we have, through the committee work, pulled out the 1000s and 2000 series to create a higher threshold for those policies, specifically the 2000 series being our bylaws section of the policy, to create a higher level of public hearing and public notice when those get approved. And so those policies, which we'll talk about in information and discussion, require 2 readings before they can be approved versus these which can be approved this evening through a repeal and replace. There is an exception, and that is policy 5207, which is our bullying policy, and statutorily that requires as well a second reading, so that will be considered an information and discussion similar to the 1s and 2000 series. So outside of those, we've kind of provided the Excel document that has the different choices there. I know we had a meeting last week for Committee of the Whole where we discussed it. And so this will replace our current Miller-Johnson policies with the 3, 4s, and 5000s and the corresponding policies that exist there. And then in July, we'll consider the 1000s, 2000s, and 5207.
Thank you. If I can get a motion for the recommendation? Mrs. Bodwine?
I move that in the best interest of Novi Community School District, the Board of Education adopt the Troon Law Policies Series 3000, 4000, and 5000, replacing the current Miller-Johnson policies.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Bodwine and supported by Mr. Mena. Now would be the time for any questions, discussion. Mr. Mishner?
Yes, I move that we amend policy 5202 in pages are hard to reference, but in section H, paragraph 9, comes right under point 7. I'd like to amend that to add the text at the end of the sentence, as well as their locker locations. And we can discuss that if you want explanation.
Before you do that, let's see if we can get support for that amendment, and then we'll open it up so you can just explain your rationale behind adding the words locker. I'm sure that it's pretty clear, and so.
What policy was it?
It was 5202. You can,
I'm trying to find relevant.
it's called the unlawful discrimination, harassment, and retaliation against students. I'm guessing he's adding a location to like the current listed locations. So.
Anybody with a page number on that specific, is it you have a specific page number for the full one? Or
We don't have a page number.
Unless you brought your policy manual with you.
I did not, but I
Policy
have it
manual
here.
doesn't have page numbers.
Yeah,
We can't,
Because we don't see the full
recently
policy.
discussed the policy, we don't have a.
Well,
I didn't bring
if
mine.
anybody wants to hear an explanation, if I
We
can
just
just
need
get
a-
support, I can.
yet.
I think I can explain it pretty clearly.
Okay, so if someone will support that, then we'll give Jason the opportunity to explain. I think it'll probably be pretty straightforward, but. Do we have support for the amendment? Anybody?
Sorry, I'm trying to find where it is first.
by supporting it, just for a little explanation, just to make it a little logistically more clear, by supporting, bringing this to the table, it doesn't mean that you specifically support the adoption of the new verbiage. It's just so that Jason will have an
I'll support
opportunity
so we can
to
discuss it
explain, and then we can
Sure.
vote
I'll
it up or
support.
vote it down,
Do
so. Okay, so supported by Mrs. Bojine, and we'll find that page for you, and then Jason, you can hopefully quickly explain
So
your
I will-
rationale.
Yes, I will, I'll quickly explain and read. So in this section, it's, to surmise the section, it deals with a bullying incident where there's a victim and a defined bully or offender. And it lists 7 different provisions the district will take to mitigate interaction / further harm to the victim with their offender. So at the end of these 7 provisions, it says, wherever possible, the district will strive to ensure that the victim's academic and other school-related schedules remain intact. And that's referencing point 4, where it says the district will rearrange course schedules to the extent practicable to minimize contact between the victim and the perpetrator. And I just want to add at the end of the sentence, as well as their locker location, because in point 5, immediately below, it says one of the remedial actions the district can take is moving the victim or perpetrator's locker. And I just wanted to add that to the sentence to give the victim deference so that it's not a equal opportunity of we'll move the offender or the victim. We'll give the victim preference as to whether they want to be moved or stay, and then act accordingly to the person that caused the incident. Because I don't believe the victim should have to move for something that was done to them. So just to clarify, I'd like to, the sentence that says, whenever possible, the district will strive to ensure the victim's academic and other school-related schedules remain intact. I would like to add the words, as well as their locker location, to the end of that
Could you
sentence.
read the one underneath it that talks about their locker?
Yes, so the 2 items, so the item 5 says, the district will move the victim's or perpetrator's locker, and it kind of puts them on equal footing. And then I notice at the end, the policy kind of defines where we say we'll do that with schedules. It purposely, explicitly gives deference to the victim, and it says that the victim's academic and other school-related schedules will remain intact wherever possible. And I just feel like we should do the same thing with the locker location, so that the victim isn't forced to move because of something done to them.
So just for some clarity.
Yes.
I think I'm on the right page now. So can you tell me the exact words that you're,
Yes, so after intact. I would
number
like-
1, tell me what number?
So if you go through 1 through 7.
Yep.
The paragraph right below that,
Paragraph
it doesn't
one.
have a number, it's paragraph 9.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add the words after intact, as well as their locker location.
Okay. Is that in conflict with, I'm just playing, not playing devil's advocate,
Sure.
but is that in conflict with number 5?
I think it
or-
further elaborates.
It just elaborates for
Yes.
it, okay. Just because it's saying that they can move the victim's or the perpetrator's locker, and then it's saying that this will remain intact, including the locker. That's where I'm kind of getting a little
Correct, it adds
confused.
additional context to 5 in the same way the current statement adds context to 4.
Okay. Any questions regarding this, Mr. Mena?
We spent a lot of time looking at these policies, and we've got a 705-page board book this week. It's not that I don't support it. My recommendation would be, and I'm sort of asking, would it be possible instead if we just pull that one till the next meeting? Because I don't really think this is.
Yeah, we could.
And then it'll give us some opportunity to really look at it.
So we'll put 5202 with 5207, the ones in the 2000s. We could do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
and
a
then
great
that'll give us an opportunity to look at it. And again, this isn't, I'm not saying I'm not supporting the change, it sounds reasonable, but not having
It in
that
front of
policy,
us.
anything in front of us, or having an opportunity to really know that there was even a concern about that,
Yeah.
that'll give us a little bit of time.
Okay. Yeah, Mrs. Bojai?
Just have a question for you, Mr. Mena. How, when would we review that, or how does that work, procedurally? So if he has, ones
So-
that he has an issue with, how does that work?
So right now, he's only recommending this one specifically, so my suggestion would be that we vote against we vote against this amendment, because that's still what the vote would
Okay,
be
yep.
first, and then we would go back to the original, recommendation. Someone could make a new motion to remove that specific policy. And then we would chunk it into kind of where we're having information and discussion. We potentially aren't ready to discuss it tonight, but
Okay.
there could be more information, and then it won't come back to action, that policy, until the July meeting, to give
Okay.
us time to talk about it.
But then how do we determine, so the rest of these we reviewed in
Yeah.
the policy committee, and we discussed it at our workshop to make sure everybody's on board. And so when would we as a group look at those things then, or?
Ben could send something out,
Okay, so that
from
would
his
just be
office,
a
so
thing
that he could.
you'll do, and then kind of let us know where we are with it.
And then
we
you'll
can-
consider it in July. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just
So we
didn't
won't be able to
understand.
have a specific debate because we don't have a meeting, but Ben could send it out and say,
That
if you
was
have
kind
any
of my question.
concerns or questions, please send them back to me, and he would facilitate that, but we can't have,
And I
we
believe
can have
you
debate
could
at the
withdraw your
next
motion if
meeting
you
per
wanted to.
se, if you will.
Yeah, I
we'll
didn't
vote
bring
on
my
it.
book, because I didn't
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we were going through that stuff this evening, so thank you. That sounds great.
Mrs. Roney?
I was just gonna say, that way, to Betsy, is that this way we can all go back and look at that whole 5207.
Yeah.
And because, you know, I mean, I'm very much a visual person, I need it in front of me.
Yeah, well,
You
those
know.
files don't open in our thing right here,
Yeah,
so I can't
so
get it
that's,
on my
I
computer.
appreciate that.
Okay,
Yep, sounds good.
so, we will vote on the suggested amendment, and if we vote that down, then someone will make a new amendment to remove that policy. So it will be what we have in front of us, the recommendation minus 5202. Yeah, okay, so we'll take a vote, on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So, it's okay.
Sorry,
I
I
know,
meant to be nay.
it's, yeah. You meant to be nay, you can?
Yes, can you change
Yes,
that?
yes,
Sorry, I
yes.
thought we were,
Yes.
sorry.
So, motion fails 6-1. I'm just
1 to
talking
6.
myself through this. Okay, so we have the current motion for the recommendation on the table, but it sounds as if someone would like to make a amendment to that motion.
I move that we amend the previous motion by removing policy 5202.
Okay, do we have support?
Support.
So we have a motion on the table for an amended motion, and that is first made by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Mishner. So we'll be voting on just the amendment, and then we'll come back and vote on the whole thing. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So now we have the amended motion on the table. So the amended motion, if someone can actually read that, Mr. Mishner?
In the best interest of the Novi Community School District, Board of Education adopt the three more policies, Series 3000, 4000, 5000, excluding 5202 and
5207.
5207.
Replacing? We just read the
Oh,
rest.
sorry, replacing the current Miller-Johnson policies.
Okay, do we have support for that? Mrs. Roney, so recommended by Mr. Mishner, supported by Mrs. Roney. Sounds like, does anyone have any further questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Excellent. We'll move on to information and discussion, and here we're gonna talk about Truant Policy 1000. Yeah?
I would like to bring a motion before the board before we move to the other items. I would like to move that we amend the notes that we previously approved to remove, and my apologies, I caught this after we voted, but just for accuracy, I would like to remove Trustee Cook from the attendees of the governance and policy meeting on the 5th. And I believe we can add, let me see. So to remove Trustee Cook from the governance and policy meeting on the 5th, and to add and to add trustee Mena, trustee Smith, and trustee Bodwine to the capital projects committee that was also on the 5th as attending.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that the minutes that were approved, you want to make a correction, so you're making a motion for, you're adding that to the action items, and you want to make a motion for that
That is
correction, is
correct,
that
yes.
correct? Okay, do we have support for Jason's motion?
Support.
Okay, recommended by Mr. Mishner, supported by Mr. Mena. Any discussion?
So this is just a simple minutes correction from?
Okay,
just-
so my comment is, I don't know if you just noticed that, just the second, but certainly if you noticed it before, it's helpful, Jason, and less disruptive to send that to me or to Ben or to Sheila so that we can have that a little more clear and we're not kind of
It was just
moving
noticed
backwards.
during the meeting.
Okay, well, if we're reading our stuff, but we all missed it as well, so we'll give you a pass on that. Do you have a question, Mrs. Roney?
I was there as well.
Oh.
On the 5th.
Yes, so did I not say your name?
No, you did not.
So you're already listed on the governance and policy attendees. It's just that Mr. Cook, trustee Cook was not present. And then on the capital projects, basically all board members except for President Ruskin were present, so,
So that's your motion.
yes.
So would you like to amend your original motion?
So for sake of clarity, I'd like to remove trustee Cook from the
Amend your
governance and project.
original motion to.
So I'd like to remove trustee Cook from the governance and policy committee meeting minutes. And I would like to add all board members to the capital projects committee meeting minutes with the exception of President Ruskin.
Okay, do we have support for that?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mishner, supported by Mrs. Bodine. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. We'll make those corrections. Thank you, Mrs. Holly. And we'll move on to information and discussion. We're gonna go to Troon Policy 1000, 2000, and then obviously we have 5207 we're gonna discuss tonight. We're not gonna add 5202 because that was really just thrown at us and I'm thinking that no one's ready to do that. So Mr. Micah will communicate that out and make sure that if anybody has any concerns regarding the language that Mr. Mishner has presented, that they share that with him and we can, if we need to have dialogue, it will happen at our next meeting before the vote. Sound good, everybody? Okay. So I'll turn it over to you for our information
Sure,
discussion.
so, this is, considering Troon Policy 1000, 2000, and 5207. I will say that, this has really been a culmination of merging our BOP document. We've met for quite a while now talking about how we would merge some of the language that you previously held in your BOP, your Board Operating Procedures, into your bylaws, which will be the 2000 series. The 1000 series really gets at changing the rules to make changes to the 2000s or the 1000 series to make it so that they have to happen over 2 hearings. I know that at our last Policy Committee of the Whole, we talked about a variety of these issues, particularly the 1000s and 2000s. There was an extensive discussion on that. I know Trustee Mena and Trustee Bodwine worked together on a couple of these that were amended in this particular document. And that is there for your consideration and discussion. And then the plan would be to vote on these particular policies, which will round out our policy manual in July.
Great. So this isn't for a vote, but if we have comments on any of the thousands, 2000s, or 5207, now would be the time to have an open dialogue amongst the board, because we won't have an opportunity probably before our next action meeting. Mrs. Bodwine.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Trustee Mena for working with me on 2302 and 2303. We started out in some kind of different directions on where we thought this should go, and I thought it was very effective collaboration and really appreciated the time with you. So thank
Ditto,
you.
I was gonna say the same thing, so.
Went very well, thank you.
Good. Thank you both, and thank you for, collaborating together. This has, been conversation for many, many years since I've sat on this board, so I think that 5302 and 03 has come together really nicely. I'm looking forward to using, these guiding principles in July of most years. We were not able to do it last year because we had new cabinet and administrators, and the year before was pandemic. But when I first started on this board, we've had opportunity in the summer to do self-board reflection and dialogue. And so I'm hoping that whatever 3202 and 3 guiding principles get approved, that we can use this as a tool to talk about some good work that we're doing, and always, looking to be our best selves. So thank you. Mr. Cook, I see your finger going up over there.
Yeah, regarding 2302.
What did I call it?
5302 and 3302.
I'm a dyslexic
You were getting
family,
closer.
sorry about that.
There's a paragraph right ahead of the principles that in the event that a board member deviates from these principles, the board will utilize restorative practice to promote growth rather than punitive measures. Whenever possible, open dialogue, and then the board may consider actions outlined in section 2303. I think that paragraph would be more fitting in 2303, discipline and, I remember the name, can't remember, discipline and removal. I think that paragraph fits better there rather than right above. I think we should be positive, and then
The last 2 sentences, is that what you're referring to?
that paragraph, I think
Okay.
would.
It's 3 sentences, but yeah.
I'm going to defer to the two of you, since you worked diligently to collaborate, but I think that if there's no objections to that, I think that's a good recommendation.
I'm fine with that. Is that fine with you?
I'm comfortable with that. All right, any other questions or comments specific to the 1000s, 2000s, and the 5207? My goodness, I gotta make sure I'm using the right numbers. It's been a long day. Mr. Mishner?
Yeah, I'd just like to state that a lot of work has been done in the bylaw, the 2000 section. I do still wish that it was true bylaws and not part of policy. I know that that's not with the Thrun structure, but I would hope that in the future we could actually adopt a standalone set of bylaws that wasn't actual policy. So I feel like there could still be some improvements made.
Thank you for your comments. One of the things too, just for some clarity, so we had the BOP, which is the Board Operating Procedures, and we had Miller-Johnson policies, and so as we merged them together, there was discussion at the Committee of the Whole regarding having a Board of Education trustee handbook, if you will, just like we have for the staff and for our students, and so that we don't lose that historical perspective on the some of the operations that are not necessarily policy, if you will. So that'll be something that the policy committee will look into the future. It will be kind of like a new board member orientation, but certainly because it would be new to all of us, then that would be something that would be rolled out in the future. But we wanted to get these policies kind of under wraps because the policy committee worked on them for quite a few months, and it's been a lot of work, so thank you. Alrighty, any other comments or questions regarding this? Certainly if something comes up, you can pass it along to Mr. Micah, and he will get you the information that you need. This will come back to the board for action and it will be truant policies 1,000, 2,000, 5202, and 5207 at the next meeting.
Great.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. Now you're really gonna test my brains. We had capital projects committee of the whole, correct? And so I think we had a lot of capital projects talk, but Mr. Smith, if you have anything additional to add, besides the report that was given by Mr. Donnelly?
No, as mentioned by trustee Mishner, we had the majority of us there. The slide presentation that Kevin gave earlier was a good recap of what we talked about at that meeting, so I don't think there's any need to elaborate on anything other than the presentation Kevin did.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr.
I
Michelle.
just have a general question for the board that I thought was appropriate for capital projects. Can anybody speak to why the performance gym is the performance gym and the auxiliary gym is the auxiliary gym? Was anybody on the board present when that was erected? Because I've been to both now just very recently, and it's very dissonant in my mind why the two serve the purposes they do.
Is it high school you're speaking to?
Yes.
The field house doesn't have the bleachers and the seating as a stadium type. So if you're doing a performance or a main event, you've got the bleachers and the seating in the main gym. Field house is primarily practice basketball courts, indoor track, they drop down batting cages and the likes of that. And very small, 3 rows of bleachers on one side. That's it.
I have an idea. Mrs. Bodwine, you're a graduate of Novi High School.
I was
What
here
it-
when
what
they
was it
built
called?
that field house as
Okay.
it
And has
is.
it always been called those two things?
Yes, it's always been the field house and the gym. And when I was in
Was
high
it called
school,
performance gym and the auxiliary gym, or was it?
not by students,
Okay.
but I don't know what the Board of Education may have called it.
It's still called a field house.
It's-
by
yeah, the field
majority.
house.
Yeah, performance gym field house.
Yeah, the field house was built more as like a practice facility and was used for the PE classes and all the sports teams. Like in the winter, they do the track training and whatnot up there, so.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
not to age you, but since that was before any of our time on the board here, well, that's your
Well-
historical,
It's as close as we can
yeah,
come to
that's what we have.
accurate historical record.
Okay.
That's, yeah, I can contact one of my high school friends if you'd like, because she
that's okay.
remembers everything, and I tend to be a little fuzzy, but I do recall that portion.
Okay. In regards to policy, I do not have a report at all because we've been talking ad nauseum about policies, and I think that we've come to a good place. I will say Finance Committee of the Whole, Mr. Kling gave a really great overview. We've passed a couple resolutions this evening. Do you have anything else to add, Mrs. Roney?
No, there really wasn't anything else to add other than Devin did a rock star job, so.
Great. And Mrs. Bodwine, the DEI Committee?
So we have not met this month, but I did want to just mention for the community that we are canceling the committee of the whole meeting that we had scheduled for
4:30 today.
today. So we did cancel that meeting because we had the graduation to attend this evening. But we have been working on our plans for the fall and have a lot of really exciting things to bring forward in the fall, and I'm excited to get back to work with that.
Great. I know the district DEI team is meeting in August, so it'll be great to hear what they come up with as we kind of merge that into the Board of Education DEI. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that that's all our committees. Did I miss anybody? I want to make sure I'm not,
We didn't meet, so
what?
curriculum did not.
No, they didn't. Nope.
Good.
Okay, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Micah.
Yeah, I would just like to briefly say thank you to the board, the staff. This has been a whirlwind of a year. There's been a lot of things happening in the last month. And it's just been amazing to see everybody kind of working, together, working in synergy. I'm very proud of where not just the district is at, but also as a board, I just feel like the governance team is really strong, and I just appreciate the support that you have for our staff. We just laid out a number of positions that we're gonna be primarily funding through grants. When I interviewed for this position, one of the questions in the interview was, from a financial standpoint, where would you put your priorities? And my answer was around mental health and also school safety. And it's pretty neat that we've been able to, get some support from the state, but we have grants for school safety and mental health, and so a lot of those are gonna be spent on staff that are gonna be able to directly impact students in those areas and keep our kids safe and healthy. And so I'm just really excited about the fall and being able to start the year with a full team on a full cycle. The 3 people that are over there are absolutely amazing. They work so hard. And, they're just incredible leaders and thinkers, and it's just been a really, really fun time to work with them, and we just can't say enough about the people that we work with. I was talking with Mr. Jeremini the other day, and we just say, I guess typical Novi, we have staff that, in a lot of places you have to prod to, do things, or hey, what about this idea? Let's try and do some sort of dog and pony show to get them excited to do something. And the staff here are running ahead of us. They're like, we want to try this now, and we want to try this there, and they're just so student focused. And it's culturally a really neat thing to see. So we work with great people. I can't say enough about how appreciative we are for the support across the district for this year. And we're really excited about the fall. I will also add, we're gonna try and taper down a little bit because of how busy it's been, and we're gonna have one meeting in July. But in August, I'll send out some information. And also at the July meeting, I'd like to talk to you about some strategic planning and kicking off a process that we would like to go through to really implement a strategic plan, which is a prerogative of the board to really establish that direction. And I think it will be great to kind of work in tandem with our cabinet team as well as our staff and students and community to bring forward a strategic plan that will lead us into the next few years. So I'll be talking about that in July. I also just want to let everybody know that the summer is going to still be busy with different events, especially in August. We're going to be doing our summer reading days again. We have a number of programs that are going to be running for students that additional support and enrichment activities that are going on throughout the summer that we've talked a lot about. So a lot of great things still happening in the summer, but it's gonna also be nice for our staff to have a little opportunity to take a break, and also for you as a board to take a little break. And thank you for everybody's work over the course of this year. It's been a great year, and really looking forward to a much better, even better year next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. Move on to our administrative reports. Mr. Kling?
Thank you. I'm going to echo a lot of what Superintendent Micah said. It's been a great half a year for me, and it was a busy couple months, and there was a lot of work, especially on the budget side, and now we're in the process of closing our books and prepping for the audit. So our summer break looks a little different than everyone else's, but it's been really great to be a part of such an excellent just school and community. Everything from the graduations to retirement get-togethers and going to elementaries and the clap outs. It's been just an excellent experience for me, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And I'm really excited to get a full year under the belt. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kling. Dr. Carino?
Yes, I will echo what they said too, so ditto. But it's been a wonderful year of learning and collaboration. I really want to recognize all of our bargaining teams. They just were incredibly collaborative to work with. It takes a lot of time to come to the table and work together in preparation for it. And I appreciate the teams on both sides. We are in obviously the middle of hiring. The positions that we brought to you today are just the beginning, and so we anticipate that we will have an equally full agenda in July with lots of other positions. And so I also want to thank our administrators who are serving on interview panels, because that also takes a lot of time. I also want to recognize and wish David Asher the best of luck in his retirement. He is my very good friend who I will miss as a colleague, but I know that many of us across the district have learned from him and wished him well in his retirement. We are also just super excited. We had our therapy dog at Orchard Hills come last week and meet the staff and students. So We identified what schools the dogs would be coming to, so we identified Novi High School, the middle school, and Orchard Hills. The dog that is at the middle school was purchased by the NEF, and so I would just like to publicly thank them for their generosity. And we were very excited to have the students name them before school ended. So we have Ollie, who will be at the high school, Teddy, who will be at the middle school, and Cooper, who will be at Orchard Hills in the fall. So we're looking forward to that. And just really thanking our staff for a wonderful year and wishing them a great summer.
Thank you. Mr. Jeremini.
I also have to echo my colleagues' sentiments. I can't be the one that doesn't acknowledge that. It has been a whirlwind year, but a wonderful year. I really enjoy working with this team and everybody in this district. The quality of work that people produce is unreal, on a consistent basis. I want to shout out some specific people, if I can, that work that has happened in the last few weeks. Congratulate Adva Ringel, our Director of ELD and State and Federal Programs, and her ELD staff and our instructional coaches. They just conducted earlier this week 2 days of professional learning, and that's already summer for teachers. So these teachers came in on their summer, really focused on the needs of our English learners, and learned about the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, which is a strategy that's really effective for English learners. And this PD was built on feedback that ADVA gathered from teachers and using data through a continuous improvement process to really generate the core content of this PD. And the feedback that we've had is overwhelmingly positive. So very proud of that group and the work that they've done. We also had an amazing 2-day session planning our district-provided professional development days for next year. That was led by Emily Polonsky, our Director of Instruction, and co-facilitated by Brittany Pierce, one of our instructional coaches, with our entire team to really figure out how do we make these experiences positive in the fall for our staff and what they really need and want. And that was just a blessing to have that done so early this year, because I did not have that set up when I walked in July 1st last year. And I also want to recognize Rob Belts from Village Oaks. Throughout this year, across the county, I have received multiple recognitions of Rob's work and the quality of his work and his contributions from multiple people around the county. They just write me a note to let me know how wonderful he is. He's been selected to join the Oakland County English Learner Leadership Team. We're very fortunate to have his expertise and leadership here, so thank you, Rob. And finally, just a note for our families, report cards. The year is over. Report cards are going to be mailed home very, very soon, so watch for those, and of course, that information is available in Power School.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jeremini. We will move on to board communication. Do we have any additional board communication? Mr. Cook? I couldn't tell if you were pointing at somebody or...
I just want to kind of echo what Dr. Carino said about David Asher. It's going to be a big hole to fill in this district. He's going to be missed. He was one of the first principals that I got to talk to when we had kids. I'd already lived in the district for a number of years at that point, but he was one of those that I talked to. And he ended up showing up at some odd places. I remember one time being in a robotics competition, and he was there, part of the crew, helping organize it and run it. So he was dedicated to the students, no matter where he was and what he was doing. So we're really going to miss him. Sorry that his last day was last week. So.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Do we have any other board communication? Mrs. Beaudoin?
I actually forgot something earlier when we talked about celebrations. I wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to attend the Awkward Pause 20th reunion, and it was really, really great. So anyone who hasn't checked it out, I would recommend that you make time to do that. The students do a wonderful job, and Heather McKay is beloved by them all. So this actually had a bunch of people who have graduated from the program came back. And so there were people like my age there on stage doing the thing with the high schoolers. It was really, really cool to see, and they all talked a lot about what an amazing community Mrs. McKay has built and how she's given these students such a great opportunity to focus on how they can use their voice and communicate with their community about what's important to them. So also my good buddy, Millen Thurman, will be the student director of that next year. So I want to give him a little shout out too. I'm real excited to see what's going to happen there next year. Not this one, the other one. But So anyways, I just wanted to say that was wonderful, and I was really glad to have been there, so.
Thanks for coming. Mrs. Roney?
I read the Novi note, it's a newspaper we all get, right? And on the front cover was about an author that had been published. Her name is Amanda Woody. She graduated from Novi High School in 2013. She got a book published, which I'm sure a lot of our graduates have, but it was just kind of exciting because I knew her. She graduated from Central Michigan with a degree in English and a certificate in creative writing. Her book is, sure, I just had it here. I think it's They Hate Each Other, which is about a queer couple that kind of get like, oh, you guys are opposite. You'll never be able to get together. Well, they do when they fall in love, but it's just kind of a cute little thing. But I was so excited because it was one of our own. So anyways, that's my little
Nice.
thing.
Thank you for sharing that. I don't think I saw that. I saw the graduates, and then I must have missed the next.
Well, you know,
edition.
it's hard. You had the graduates and then you had this little blurb,
I'm
but
gonna go back and look at it.
yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Mena, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I do. I think Superintendent Meinke mentioned baseball. So
Oh, yeah.
it's worth mentioning again. It doesn't, not like it happens that often where we have a team actually competing for a state championship. I think the last time Novi was at this place, or at least reached the semifinals in 1973. So kudos to them. I'll be going out to support the team on Saturday morning. I think game time is at 9 a.m. Also this week, I got to attend a 3-day Daktronics High School Summit. The first day was live, hosted by Birmingham Seaholm High School. Their athletic director, Aaron Frank, is somebody who I talk with often. We kind of steal from each other as far as some of the ideas that we use at our schools. And then the second and third day were virtual, and it was nice to see, not only learn some new things, but also be able to share some of the stuff that we do at Novi, and also kind of see the creativity being done out there. But I am pretty proud at what we're able to accomplish here at Novi at a high school level. The usage of our Daktronics equipment is pretty cool. So.
That's pretty awesome. We're lucky to have that. Thank you.
Mr. Mena, where is the baseball championship game going to be played?
It is in East Lansing. So I believe it's the same stadium that Michigan State uses for their baseball games. I just don't recall the exact name, but.
Yeah, it's next to Ryerson Fieldhouse, but I don't.
If you put Michigan State University baseball field in Waze, it'll take you right there.
Be fun to bring the kids. They'd have fun.
Be there early enough to get a hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
At 9 in the morning? No, I would probably grab a bagel at that point today.
I don't know if they sell bagels in the morning though. All righty, any other board communication, Mr. Mishner?
Yes, I would just like to take this time to address my fellow trustees. I will do everything in my power to communicate and participate in all board matters of action and everything before us as much as possible within the bounds of OMA prior to all board meetings. But I also strive for excellence and accuracy in everything that I do. So just know that if I do bring a motion to all of you, it will be in accordance with parliamentary authority. And it will be because I would rather correct a mistake now than let a mistake go, or improve something that is good and make it better. And just because at the end of the day, I want this board to be the best it can be and to be deserving of the amazing staff and students we have in our district and lead by example. So if I do bring a motion, please know that it is in our best interest as a board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mishner. Appreciate it. Any other comments or board communication? Okay. I'm just going to take an opportunity to actually thank our parent partners and our kids. Our kids worked really, really, really hard this year, I'm sure, in every single classroom and every little activity they did in sports and all the clubs and just everything that they did. You know, being a student is not easy. Kids go through ups and downs, and so every year should be a celebration, whether you're leaving 4th grade to go to 5th grade or whether you're graduating in 12th grade or the NHEC kids or the career prep kids, but I am really just proud of all of our students for, pushing through and getting through those challenges and celebrating their highs and having all the great things happen to them. We have amazing opportunities for our kids that are presented to them and that they present themselves in this district. So I hope that all the families have time for some self-care, self-reflection, and just enjoy summer, however that may look and feel for them. So have a great summer. We'll be here in July. You can come visit at our meeting, or you can just keep on your vacation, whatever feels right to you. But thank you to my fellow board members and again, to our students. And to our students who come and sit and listen in our board meetings. I know a few parents actually bring their kids, a couple of them out there, one who brings his daughter and she's not here tonight, and one who brought their student. So just sitting here and listening to the governance, and it's a learning opportunity, and it takes a lot of attention to sit here for almost 3 hours and listen to us babble. So we do appreciate having our students here with us. So that being said, I think that.
Move to adjourn?
Oh my goodness, Mr. Cook.
You were babbling.
All right, recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by, I'll just pick Mrs. Bojwine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Paul, she's allowed 2, she had 2 graduates.